Welcome to the Small Victories Training Workshop. My name is Ann Wiebelhaus, and I will be presenting 3 one-hour training sessions on some important requirements that are the basics of the National School Lunch Program. Training 3 of the workshop is intended to refresh basic skills or increase your knowledge of program requirements of food safety. In each session, there will be a short recorded PowerPoint, webcasts or videos, and an activity option. Also available is a resource folder that you can utilize, which offers helpful resources. The objectives for this hour are to review the requirements and some basic food safety points. The review will include information on the Hazardous Analysis and Critical Control Point, or also known as HACCP plan. In addition, information will be shared on employee health reporting agreements, food safety training, health inspections, hand washing, storage facilities and practices, date marking, and thermometers. Let's review some facts about the food safety plan. First, there is a food safety plan template available on the DPI website and is designed for use by schools in Wisconsin to meet USDA regulations. The template is consistent with the Wisconsin Food Code. Production site and serving location claiming reimbursable meals, snacks, and milk must have a food safety plan. USDA requires the food safety plan to include documentation describing measures in place for effective monitoring, documenting corrective action taken, and completing an annual plan review. Changes may be made to the food safety plan template, such as the removal of standard operating procedures, SOPs, that do not apply, revision of the SOPs to be specific to the operation, and additional SOPs when applicable. Hazardous Analysis Critical Control Point is a food safety plan that focuses on food. The process approach to HACCP is a method of classifying food preparation into 3 broad categories. These categories are based on the number of times a menu item makes a complete trip through the temperature danger zone and the procedures required to keep food safe. The SFA must assign menu items to one of the 3 processes and develop procedures to prepare the food. There are some questions to ask yourself to determine which process food items fall under. Does the food item have the no cook step involved? Does the food item undergo a cook step for same-day service? Or does the food item need additional cooling and reheating following a cook step? Once you determine the correct step, you will be able to place each menu item into the appropriate process. Let's review the processes. Process number 1 is a no cook step. The menu item does not go completely through the danger zone in either direction. Process 2 is same-day service step. The menu item takes one complete trip through the danger zone, going up during cooking, and is served. Process 3 is the complex food preparation step. The menu item goes through both heating and cooling, taking 2 or more complete trips through the danger zone. You should document the appropriate process for each menu item. School agencies participating in the school nutrition programs agree to maintain necessary facilities for storing, preparing, and serving food and to comply with health standards required by applicable state agency and/or local laws and codes. It is required that 2 food safety inspections from the state or local governmental agency responsible for food safety inspections be conducted each year for each school participating in the school lunch or breakfast program. It is required that employees fill out an employee health reporting agreement. This document is an agreement between employees and management to help ensure that food employees notify the person in charge when they experience any of the following symptoms: diarrhea, fever, vomiting, jaundice, sore throat with fever, lesions containing pus on the hand, wrist, or any exposed body part. Management must also be notified if the employer is diagnosed with several illnesses, as well as the person in charge. Appropriate steps must be taken to prevent the transmission of foodborne illnesses. The use of this document should help demonstrate to the regulatory authority that there is an employee health plan in place. Food safety training is a critical aspect of the food service operation that affects all students. 8 hours of food safety training every 5 years is required for program directors. However, having additional staff trained in food safety is highly encouraged. It is recommended to review SOPs from the food safety plan yearly. Food service employees, volunteers, and students, workers, and all others individuals that prepare and/or serve food should receive training on hand washing. Hand cleaning signs should be posted in a language that is understood by all food service staff near all hand washing sinks in food preparation, service areas, and in restrooms. Food preparation, utility, and dishwashing sinks are not to be used for hand washing. Designated hand washing sinks are used for hand washing only. Hand washing sinks are supplied with warm running water, soap, and single-use paper towels. Provide a waste container at each hand washing sink. Hand washing sinks should be accessible anytime for employees, volunteers, student workers when they are present. Correct hand washing includes cleaning the backs of hands, palms, and forearms, between the fingers and under the fingernails using warm water, soap, and a fingernail brush. Hands are to be washed and thoroughly dried before starting work, immediately before engaging in food preparation, including working with exposed food, clean equipment and utensils, and unwrap single-service and single-use items. Wash hands as often as necessary during food preparation to remove soil and contamination, to prevent cross-contamination when changing tasks, before putting on or changing gloves for work with food, after using the restroom, after sneezing, coughing, using a handkerchief or a disposable tissue, using tobacco, eating, drinking, and after touching hair, face, or body. Hands are to be washed after any cleanup activities such as sweeping, mopping, or wiping counters, touching soiled dishes, equipment, utensils, handling trash, and chemicals. Employees who will be receiving and storing food must maintain the storage areas, including dry, refrigerated, and freezer storage, by following good practices. Let's review these practices. For storage upon receiving foods, make sure to place foods in the proper storage area for refrigerator and freezer quickly. Place foods in appropriate storage areas immediately upon receipt. Refrigerated foods should be stored in designated refrigerators. If food products are stored together in a refrigerator, they should be placed on the shelves in the following order. Prepared or ready-to-eat foods on the top shelf, the next shelf down is fish, and then seafood items, then whole cuts of raw beef, followed by whole cuts of raw pork, then ground or processed meats, and finally on the bottom shelf, raw poultry. For frozen foods and dry foods, keep all food items on shelves that are at least 6 inches above the floor to facilitate air circulation and proper cleaning. Store food out of direct sunlight. Use first in, first out, FIFO, rotation of foods in all storage areas to ensure the oldest products are used first. Products with the earliest use by or expiration dates are stored in front of products with later dates. Mixing old food with new food is not acceptable. Make sure items are dated with receiving date and are used by date. Store food in original containers if the container is clean, dry, and intact. If necessary, prepackaged food in clean, well-labeled, airtight containers. Keep in mind, food is never put in chemical containers, and chemicals are never placed in food storage containers. Check the temperature of all refrigerators and freezers at the beginning of each shift. This includes both internal and external thermometers where appropriate. Refrigerator temperatures should be between 36 and 41 degrees. Freezer temperatures should be between -10 and 0 degrees. Record storage unit temperatures on the appropriate temperature log. It is important to maintain a clean and uncluttered storage area. Storage areas should be positioned to prevent contamination from areas where garbage is stored. Remember to dispose of all items that are beyond the expiration or used by dates. Store all items on shelves at least 6 inches above the floor to facilitate air circulation and proper cleaning, and be sure to check for signs of rodents or insects. If there are signs of the presence of rodents or insects, notify the maintenance or the person in charge. Check the dry storerooms at the beginning of each shift. Dry storerooms temperatures should be between 50 and 70 degrees. Record temperatures for dry storage areas on appropriate temperature logs. It is important to have an established date marking system in place, and employees and volunteers are trained accordingly. The best practice for a date marking system is to include a label with the product name, the day or date, and the time it is prepared or open, plus used by the end date, not to exceed 7 calendar days. Examples of how to indicate when the food is prepared or open include labeling food with the calendar date and use the by date, identifying the day of the week and the use by date. Some school food service staff find it helpful to use color code marks or tags. Ready to eat, time temperature control for safety foods, TCS, that are prepared on site must be labeled. Any processed ready to eat foods are labeled when open. All ready to eat foods are refrigerated at 41 degrees or below. Refrigerated ready to eat foods are served or discarded within 7 days. A separate label is used to indicate the date prepared and the date frozen and the date thawed for any refrigerated ready to eat foods. The 7-day time period is calculated by counting only the days the food is under refrigeration. For example, on Monday, 8/1, lasagna is cooked, properly cooled and refrigerated with a label that reads lasagna cooked 8/1. On Tuesday, 8/2, the lasagna is frozen with a second label that reads frozen 8/2. Two labels now appear on the lasagna. Since the lasagna was held under refrigeration on Monday, 8/1 through Tuesday, 8/2, only 1 day is counted toward the 7-day time period. Food service employees or volunteers receive training on the proper procedures for using calibrating thermometers used to take internal temperature of foods. Appropriate food thermometers, those that are measured temperatures from 0 to 220, should be purchased. Temperatures of individual thin products such as hamburgers, chicken breasts, fillets, nuggets, hot dogs, and sausage patties must be taken using a thermostat or thermocouple with a thin probe. A digital thermometer with a probe at the tip may also be used. Stacking of items to obtain a temperature reading with a bimetallic dial-face stem thermometer will not provide an accurate reading of the internal temperature of the product, so this procedure is not permitted. Bimetallic dial-face stem thermometers are the most appropriate for measuring temperatures of thick food. A dimple mark located on the stem of the thermometer indicates the maximum food thickness that can be accurately measured. In the absence of a dimple mark, assure that the thermometer is inserted in the food at least 1.5 inches above the tip. Place the thermometer in the thickest part, away from the bones and the fat. Use only oven-safe bimetallic thermometers when measuring temperatures of food while cooking in an oven. Do not use liquid-filled gas thermometers to probe products. Infrared non-contact thermometers give surface temperatures and should not be used when determining heated temperature of a food item. The food service worker must record results on appropriate logs and/or daily production plans. Food thermometers should be in easy access to food service employees or volunteers during all hours of operation. Thermometers should be cleaned and sanitized after each use by washing the probe of the thermometer by hand with warm soapy water. Do not immerse the dial in water. Sanitizing the probe of the thermometer can be done with a sanitizing solution approved for food contact services or with an alcohol swab. Air drying thermometer to minimize the risk of recontamination is allowable. Store food thermometers in an area that is clean and where they are not subject to contamination or frequent jostling. Use proper methods to verify the accuracy of the food thermometers at least once every 2 weeks. Appropriately recalibrate thermometers to correct temperatures and document the action. Always discard inaccurate thermometers that cannot be adjusted. Listed in the slide are web pages that may be helpful to you. This training counts for 1 hour of professional standards training, learning code 3100. Thank you for watching the presentation today.